A woman called me up and she said, "You're my last hope." And let's talk about dating in the golden years.
A lot of people look back on what they've done in their life and they realize they have to change.
I need to have you go back to kindergarten and learn how to play in the playground. There isn't a cookie cutter approach. So I see dating as a skill.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan and Dante. Welcome to Middle Age Mess, where we talk about people who know everything but can't really remember anything. Today, I'm really excited about our guest. And I say I'm excited most of the time, but usually I'm not. But today, I'm super excited. Let's introduce first Kimmy Seltzer. Kimmy, hello.
Hello. Flattery will get you everywhere. Thank you.
I like it. I've learned that in my short life. So here's why I'm excited. So when I was thinking about doing this dopey podcast, every one of my friends said to me, Dan, you should do it on dating because you love dating. And I love dating. I think dating is the greatest thing in the world. And I'm going to say something that's a little controversial and possibly even sacrilegious, and I might get struck down by a bolt of lightning. I love online dating. I think online dating is the greatest thing in the world. So Kimmy is a confidence therapist, a dating strategist, and an image expert. So for the next 40 minutes, I get to talk about dating, and I can't wait.
I am looking just as forward to this conversation as you. So
this is really exciting for me.
I love dating too.
Oh my God.
Coincidence has it.
So you're a freak just like me. Okay, so first let's tell us a little about you, like who you are and where you came from. And then my first question is going to be, why does everybody hate online dating? Why do I read endless articles about men don't date anymore and women don't date anymore and everybody hates everybody when I think it's the greatest thing in the world?
I'm so glad that you said that too, and that you find dating fun, because that's something that I preach, I teach, I live by. I'm from Chicago and I lived a very traditional life. I was a therapist in a traditional sense. I had the picket fence, the dog, the couple kids, the husband. I still have the kids, by the way, but you see where the story's going. So,
yeah, I've got the same story. We're the same person.
I was going to say, I bet you can relate. And so we all pick up and we move across the country and we land here in La La Land, LA, and we do what all the other people here do. We get a divorce. And joke. Obviously.
That's not a joke. That's dead serious, actually.
It's kind of like half joke, but to be honest, I would have been here anyway. I think LA just sped things up. That's something that needed to happen. Quite honestly, when you're stripped from the insulation of your cushy life, sometimes you don't see in front of you the problems that exist. And so when we were removed from that, and then here I am all alone in my new castle, not knowing what to do with my new life, I was facing, the challenges. And I quite honestly didn't know what I was going to do with my new life. And I had these small kids.
How old are your kids?
Oh my gosh, they were so young. They were like 2.5 and 8 months.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. Right? And then now I'm supposed to, as a single mom, go out there and start a new life and date and all of that. And here's the kicker. I was a therapist. Can you imagine?
Yeah, disaster.
Even worse.
Disaster. I would have swiped left on you every single time.
No, I would have. Looking back, I was an awful dater. I dated as a therapist too. But before that, up until then, I really believed in working from the inside out. It's what I helped people with. And so I did what I taught. I did the work. I went to therapy myself. I had just friends rally around me. I had a great support system and I had to make new friends too here in LA, but still I could not get out of my own way. And the thing is, and this is a thing that kind of shocked me, is that I looked in the mirror one day and I really took a hard look and I was horrified at what I saw. If you saw me back then, I would not be wearing red, first of all. Yeah. I was wearing all black clothes, ginormous, too big for my body. I had frazzled hair. I had a nursing bras on. Still, I wasn't nursing any longer. I had flip-flops. I was a hot mess. I couldn't believe what I had become. And it was that kind of realization in the mirror when I realized, once a very confident woman, it was like the pieces just shattered to the ground in the mirror. And I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. And
I got to tell you, it's a recurring theme that I find when I'm interviewing people on the show. When you get to your middle age, whatever middle age is these, I don't know, like your 40s and 50s, whatever we want to call that. A lot of people look back on what they've done in their life and they realize they have to change, whether it's required to change or whether they just psychologically they can't keep doing what they're doing, or they find themselves like you in a place that they can't believe they're at. We were in our 20s and 30s. We couldn't imagine we were going to be what we are
No.
with the hair disappearing and the crow's feet and getting, gaining weight that we can't lose. Like, we're shocked. But then a lot of people, and almost everybody who I interview, has picked themselves up, figured it out, and moved on to something different.
No, I love that you said that, because I always say adversity are gifts in disguise. You don't see it at the time that it's happening, but it's not until you get through it and you look back and you're like, there was the gift. And now the very thing that was so challenging for me, I teach and I help people with. So it became a gift now. And, back then when I was in this, like what I call analysis paralysis, I was just sitting there doing the work because I thought that's what I had to do. And I have to say, it almost became a crutch. And I talk about this now, and I can safely say this as a therapist, that the inside job became almost this excuse to not get out there. And so people would ask me, they say, Kimmy, when are you going to get out there and date? And I would say, oh, you know what? I'm just doing the work. But like, what did that mean?
Yeah,
when I'm sitting there rocking in a chair doing the work.
They say, I want to learn about me. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Just, download Bumble and get a grip on yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right. Well, and to your point, I was not taking action. I was in fear. I mean, I didn't realize that at the time, but one day I woke up and I look in the mirror one more time. And I don't know what happened in that moment. Sometimes there's just that moment in your life where it just hits you. It just hit me when I saw this really like frumpy mom. I'm like, enough is enough. I got to go do something. And so I went shopping. This is where it all happened.
Awesome.
Retail therapy.
Yep.
And so I go shopping and I think I'm up-leveling myself. But no, what am I doing? I'm putting all black clothes in my arms again. Same pattern, right?
Yep.
Same habit.
Yep.
And I said, gosh, well, okay, well, I'll have new clothes. Maybe I'll have a new attitude. And now this personal shopper, she had been watching me roam the store. And she came up to me and she says, ma'am, I've been watching you. And I really think you should try this on. And she holds up a red dress, much like my top.
Yeah.
I said, that's really sweet of you, but that's really not my size. And that is so not my color. She says, honey, that is your size. That is your color. Try it on.
Was she right?
Oh, boy, was she right.
On the money.
And I call it my red dress moment. And it is now something that, I always have people have their red dress moment. It's that moment that you wake up. Because up until then, I was literally in a trance. I slipped into the dress like Cinderella and I twirled around and I took a hard look in the mirror one more time. And I was like, oh, I'm a princess.
That's awesome.
Like it was this, almost visceral response that I got in my body. I'm like, wow. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this dress. I'm going to buy it. And I bought it as a costume. And the reason why I say that, I still didn't believe that it was me, but I took it upon myself that I was going to wear that dress everywhere just to get used to this new me. And I did. I went to the coffee shops. I went to the dog park. How
many dudes picked up on you in the red dress?
Well, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yep.
I love that you already know the story. So here I am in this red dress. And all of a sudden, these guys start checking me out. It was like, oh my gosh, now what? So it surprised me that I didn't like it. And I realized this whole time I was wearing the black clothes as a cloak to keep me invisible with alien men.
You didn't like dudes, which makes sense.
No, I was scared.
Oh,
I was
scared.
I'm like, last time I flirted, I was in college. What did I know what to do? And so I almost realized there's this kind of, it was like I was worried about being seen. Really, that's what was going on. I didn't realize that at the time, but it just kind of hit me. So I just had to get used to being seen and get over my fears and feel like a dateable woman at this stage in my life, because I really didn't see that.
I just have a question. So before we talk about the transformation into the beautiful swan, right? What was the fear that got you in those black frumpy clothes and had you sitting in your place? What was it that kept you? What were the chains, the psychological chains that kept you there?
Well, I mean, mind you, again, and when I help clients, I see this all the time. People will have excuses around getting out there, right? And a lot of times it's outside yourself. You say, oh, well, there's no, single men or women my age, or who would want to date me as a single mom or dad, or, oh, it's the town I live in. It's my age. There could be all these external reasons that keep people from getting out there. But the truth is,
none of them are real.
Right. They're not real. it's more of kind of the symptom of something that's deeper. And as a therapist, I know this to be true. And we all have different fears. I mean, there's fears of abandonment, there's fears of rejection, there's fears of failure. Like there's all these things that are usually deeper rooted and attached to different experiences. For me, I didn't realize it, but I was really fearful of the rejection piece and being seen. Wow, well, I had to face the music and face you men.
Yeah,
And then I'm like,
that's
now what
terrifying.
do I do?
Terrifying. Yeah.
You guys were really scary to me.
So, okay, so now you're getting all this attention from men, which is great.
Yeah.
And you've got to now figure out how to deal with it. What'd you do?
Correct. And so I just kind of kept going down my yellow brick road in search of Oz. And I kept collecting tools in my little basket until I realized, wow, all this is practice. It's putting myself into action. And I got myself a good set of wing gals. We called ourselves Sex in the City gals. And what we would do is we would go to a different venue every single week. We would practice flirting. We would, do things to get outside of our, kind of comfort zone. And then I just started dating up a storm. And while that was happening, I realized this transformative kind of work that was happening to me, I wanted to help others with. And so, and I was also obsessed with that show, What Not to Wear. I don't know if you know that. So
I
like,
don't
look
know
at
that
these
one.
people who would have makeovers done on
Yeah.
them. I'm like, I want to do that. And so I got trained to be an image consultant. I started just doing makeovers on people because I realized it worked on myself, and everything just kind of snowballed. And then I started speaking, I started getting into the media, I started doing different programs. And now I'm kind of like Hitch meets What Not to Wear. I go out in the field and I help people flirt, and I help people just meet people in real life. And I have different virtual programs. While all this is, I use this kind of formula that I created. It's called the Charisma Quotient. It's the name of my podcast. And I work with people in kind of these three pillars to help move the needle in their life, because there isn't a cookie cutter approach that is like one size fits all. I really believe that. I think we all get tripped up in different areas, but it's taking a look at each of these areas and seeing what you need to practice. So I see dating as a skill. I really do. And if you haven't had practice, you need to get practice.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've always said there's no formula as well. You just have to get out there and do it. And I think hearing people's stories empowers other people to really say, yeah, I can do it. So let's hear about your story. When you say you're practicing flirting, what does that mean? What were you saying to guys, or what did you learn during these weekly outings with the Sex and the City Club that made it easier for you?
Well, again, how we were talking about the very thing that we fear sometimes become the gifts. Well, I was fearful of flirting because, again, the last time I flirted with a guy was in college at like a toga party. And,
it might have been me. Might have been me, Kimmy. I hate to tell
could
you.
have been you. Yeah, I know. Where are you? I don't even know where you're from. Were you from Chicago?
No. I grew up in LA and I went to Berkeley for college.
Oh, okay. No, it wasn't you.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so here's something I realized. In fact, it's kind of fresh on my mind because last night I did a flirt workshop. I do these monthly workshops that are around different skills. And last night was flirting, and they're co-ed. And we were talking about my secret formula for flirting. And one of the things I shared with them is that no one has a secret flirt formula that is, again, one size fits all. We all have different things that are uniquely us that we feel good about that we can use. And so that's what I learned when I was going out with my girls. Everyone had a different technique. Like one girl, she would twirl her hair. She'd be that girl. She would walk in, she'd make the googly eyes. And it worked for her. God love her.
Just twirling her hair. Twirling her hair. That's all it took.
That's all she did. She would like do the googly eyes. She would do the little like, hi, and then all of a sudden like guys would be flocking around her. I'm like, okay.
God. We're so predictable. Guys are so predictable and pathetic. I hate all of us. We're terrible.
Well, you are. And honestly, we are too. And so this is what I share with both sexes, because we each have little tricks and nuances that really get each other. And then I had one friend, she did it all with her eyes. Like she was kind of more quiet and introverted, but she knew how to use just her eyes to draw men in. And that's all she needed to do. She would just kind of like she would like look over and then she would look like that. And then she would look over and then like the guy would be next to her in 5 seconds. I'm like, how did you do that?
I mean, it's kind of sad, isn't it? It's sad how easily manipulated men are. I mean, that's why it blows me away that women are scared to flirt or women are scared to talk to us because guys are so easy. We're so dumb. We're so simple.
Well,
we're like
but
horses and dogs. Like, just
oh my God, I
scratch our
say that all
ears
the
and we're good. Yeah.
time. I love you guys. Like you're like puppy dogs. And I tell women all the time, like you literally have to hit them over the head with a bat so that they get that, yes, you're interested. And here's my belief that both sexes have responsibility with approachability. It's not just the man's job to come up to the woman. The woman has to be open for business
Yeah,
and give signals and
yeah.
approachable, right?
Yeah.
My other friend, she used humor. And she was really funny, but she used it in like a good way because humor can sometimes skew a little towards off-putting and maybe friend zoney if you do it too much. So it has to be the right balance.
It's also intimidating because guys feel like they have to match it,
Yeah, yeah. And guys often will try to like one up it
Right.
and then it becomes not sexy, like the interaction. So me, I kind of, made it my own. I took a little bit of each, I mixed it in a bowl and voila, I had my own flirting kind of style. So I kind of do a mix of things that my friends did. And obviously, like I teach this stuff. So depending who I'm with and how I teach it and where I am, I will help people with different techniques. But the real important thing is that people don't realize is the first impressions is everything. It only takes 7 seconds now to make a first impression, which is crazy. It used to be 30 seconds a couple of years ago. And people make judgments and assumptions based on 2 things. This is what research says. It's the clothes that you wear and the attitude that you have. That's it. So what you say isn't even as important as your presentation, which can break a lot of barriers. So being mindful of your body language, your energy, what you're wearing, these are all like advertisements for yourself.
And that's for both sexes, men and women.
Both. Oh God, both. And men don't realize how powerful it is. Like women, honestly, I think we're worse visually and we like critique men more than you guys of us. And, we get on men, oh, men are so visual. It's like, no, women are too. We just we want a guy who is well-dressed, who puts care into his clothes. He's up to date in his style. He's not wearing ginormous clothes, which a lot of men are culprits for.
They're hiding that beer belly, among other things.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't have a butt anymore, you got to work on that.
Right. But what they don't realize is if they were more form-fitted jeans, that it would actually give them a butt and it would slim their belly. So it's opposite to what you think. So I love starting from the outside first. So all that time that I worked from the inside out, I now flip the script and I work from the outside in. And so I work with how people market themselves, how they put themselves out there, what they're wearing, how they're dressing, the actions they take, their energy. Because honestly, once you have that and you're feeling good with the feedback you're getting, then internally you're building your confidence. And then I go inward and work on emotional intelligence and then social intelligence and how we interact with each other.
Yeah, it's always strange how little care men put into taking care of themselves and project that image. Because it's what you're saying is absolutely true. Women are so much more selective than men. I mean, men will, honestly, if there's a heartbeat, dude's in there pretty much anytime. But you also hear about with online dating, the data says that women generally pick only the top 20% of guys, whereas men will take anybody. I hate to say it. I don't like putting people in these horrible buckets of, ugly and good looking, but guys will kind of go with just about anybody who's responsive and gives them some type of decent reaction, whereas women are much more picky, always.
Well, yes, or yes-ish, I will say. And so like last night in the flirt workshop, I was kind of proving my point and I put these before and after pictures and I would ask the opposite sex in the before picture, how many would click on that picture and say yes, or say yes to that person if they met. The ones where they looked like awful, most people said no.
Right.
And then when I showed the after, when they were made up, even the guys were like, oh yeah, she's hot. Oh yeah, I'd give her And so we're all visual beings. Here's my theory. Women, we look at a man and we'll be more forgiving if you have a little belly or receding hairline. But if you're dressed well and you look, again, that you care, then we'll give you a chance. Now, men will look at a woman and right away they want to know whether or not they want to have sex with her. Okay. So we have like just that kind of go-to like first hit.
Yes.
So women look at success and men look at sex in that first hit. Right. And so both the wardrobe and your attitude can kind of give those signals off. And then from there, obviously, there's more to it in the interaction and what we want in a partner. But these are really important things. I mean, I just got back from Miami. I do dating retreats and they're co-ed. And it's so much fun because I really help people get their flirt on and go out into the world and get out of their head. And it's all people over 40. So it's fantastic. And I send them on scavenger hunts and they have an app and they have to go do silly things. The women were all made up and I have them put these like cat ears on like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then and I have them just be goofy and silly.
I'm talking to that girl for sure. I want to know what's going on there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's fun.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun to see people kind of get out of their own way when given permission. And it gets harder later in life. You know, I often talk about kids. Kids are fantastic flirts because they don't have filters yet. You know, they just go up to someone in the sandbox and say, "Hi, want to play?" They don't say, "Oh, I shouldn't bother that person. He looks busy." Right? Like you said, dating can be so much fun if you just kind of get out of your own way with it and not take it so serious, realizing that it's just meeting a bunch of people and having a bunch of play dates and having fun. And then you get to determine who you want to move on with.
So why do people hate online dating so much? And I will say also for me, the concept of not taking it seriously for me is the biggest piece, right? Because I always hear about people who like, they complain about, oh my God, I went on a bad date or she was horrible or he didn't look like his pictures, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, so what? So you spent like an hour with the guy or the girl, like who cares? You bought a coffee, spent $4, you get to go home. Like why do people get so wrapped up in the hour that they wasted of their life? Like whatever, maybe they were cool, you know, maybe you found something out. Maybe they'll give you a job later.
See, and that's the reason why you're finding dating fun, because you have the right attitude. And I tell people that all the time, that everybody has a purpose. It's never a waste of time meeting someone. You don't know the person that you're meeting could actually be a conduit to meeting someone else. It's like the game Leapfrog that we all used to play when we were young. It's like one thing leads to another. And if you're open to that and you go into interactions with curiosity, like being really present with it, then it is fun. But the reason why I think a lot of people hate the online dating, I work with a lot of high achievers who are outcome driven and they are vetting each person as if they're the next boyfriend or girlfriend, right? And it's almost becomes this interview thing. It's a process that they're going through and they're making it like a job. And that's not how it's supposed to be. And I think another reason is during COVID, that was the only way that people could meet. So I think people are just burnt out from it and they're wanting to know how to meet people in real life. But a lot of people don't know how. And so that's what I love. Like I develop dating plans for people, like business plans.
Let's do a dating plan for me. Let's do a little sample and see what happens.
Well, what's going on with you?
Well, no, I don't need it, but let's pretend I do. I've actually been in a relationship for the last 2 years with a wonderful lady I met on Hinge.
And, cool. I love it.
But let's assume it's the day before she and I started going out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. The day before. So this would have been back in September of 2021. I'd broken up with another girlfriend in July of that year. So it had been about 3 months, July, August, September, 2 months. Between July, breaking up with her, and November, when me and my current girlfriend solidified and went exclusive, I had 24 first dates, right? And, you know, I had 24 first dates, and I think I went out on a second day with about 7 of them.
How many of those were online? Were 100% of them?
Every single, I told you, I loved online. I would sit there, like, to me, it's a video game. Like, it's fun. Like, who cares? I didn't care what the app was. I didn't care who the person was. I'd go with them. It didn't matter to me. So I had 20, but, you know, the day before I met my current girlfriend, I had yet to get a girlfriend, even with my 24 first dates. So give me a dating plan. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? How do I find the person I'm with now?
Yeah, you know, I kind of have this 3-prong approach, and I won't go into the whole details of it because obviously it's a bigger process. But one of the things that I do say, it is a numbers game. So to your point, like you just kept, right? It was volume. And that's why online dating is fantastic there's no other way that you can get in front of a bunch of single people who could be a possibility for you in one portal than online dating. Like there's nowhere.
Right. But this is my whole question, right? I had 24 first dates. 17 of them were, I didn't want to go on a second date, but like they were fine. Like whatever, it didn't work. There was no connection, but I didn't care. Why do people care? Why do people go on 3 dates with 3 guys or 3 girls? It doesn't work out. And they say, screw it, I'm going to go to a nunnery. I just can't deal with it anymore. Why is that? Why do people do that?
I'll answer that in a story because I actually just worked with a client who had that. One of the things that she was doing is she was getting attached to the outcome because she was a high achiever, but really deep down, she was scared. She was scared to get in another toxic relationship. She'd been in a relationship for like 10 years with a narcissist, and she was almost vetting these guys so hard in fear of getting into another bad, narcissistic relationship that she was actually she was trying to protect herself, but by doing so, she was getting nowhere. You know what I mean? Because she was vetting every single detail in their profile, and if anything looked like an semblance of her ex, she'd be like, "Oh nope, swipe left." What I had her do is kind of like help her give the attitude of what you have. I said, "Look, create a mission statement." This is the first thing I tell my clients, just like, business.
We're doing business plans. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I will, because so many of these people are business people, and I say, what is your mission right now? And I'll give you a hint. In the next 3 months, there should be nothing on your mission statement that says boyfriend. Really? Like you're not allowed to, like, I need to have you go back to kindergarten and learn how to play in the playground and let go of the outcome so that you can really kind of collect data for yourself rather than just sit there in fear and get rid of these guys. It was hard for her because I made her go out with people who were not her type. And I'm like, look, your type isn't working for you. So you're going to go out with him. Okay. And when you're going out with him, you're going to collect this data. And so I kind of have this like data dating thing that I do with people. She was just collecting data, and it took the expectations and the pressure off of her to just have fun and be in the moment and collect data on these guys. And of course, what happens? She gets a boyfriend in 3 months because I took that away from her. She was able to really like be more focused and present as she was dating. You ask, what are the reasons why? I mean, there's so many different reasons. And as a therapist, that's why it's really important that I understand your journey and your story before we get into this process, because we all have things that trip us up that we don't even realize sometimes.
But what are the most common things? Because I'm sure taking things way too seriously, and also even for a high achiever, I would think that's strange, because if you're a high achiever, what it usually means is you've been successful, but you've also failed a lot. Because you had to go after everything. And like, look, even use the job analogy. Like, I have a business, I'm looking for employees. I'll throw away 200 resumes to find one person. Why wouldn't that same CEO say, look, it's going to take 200 women till I find the right one, and whatever. Who cares about the first 199?
Yeah. No, and like I said, I would say there's different avatars and problems that exist. And actually, if you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com, there's a dating diagnosis quiz, and you can like download that and take it and see some of your problems that might be, what is tripping you up in your dating life. There's also common skills that people haven't honed in on. So it's not just fears or things that are holding them back or not being good business people or being a good business person. It's some of the skills that they're lacking. So I know people who fall in the friend zone all the time. That's a biggie.
What's the biggest thing that people do?
One of the biggest things is they don't flirt. And so this is why I do so many flirt workshops.
They're scared to flirt, or they're scared to take it from just talking over coffee to like, hey, I want to make out with you.
Yeah, there's a lack of indication of interest in some way, shape, or form. It could be the body language. It could be the way they move. It could be the lack of building sexual tension. It could be just boring conversation that has no emotional triggers to it. There's all these kind of nuances. And that's what I was talking about in the workshop last night. If you're falling into the friend zone, most likely there's something going on that is causing you to just keep it safe with people. There's not a level of a little bit of tease, a little bit of daring, a little bit of touch that indicates interest. And so the reasons why people don't flirt vary. But if you look at the definition of flirting, it's fascinating in the dictionary. It's to behave as though you are attracted to someone without the serious intention of an outcome.
Okay.
Now, that last part is why so many of these outcome-driven people who are business people have such a hard time because they're thinking about what's next. They're thinking, well, I don't want to, flirt with someone I'm not interested in, or I don't know how, or I don't want to give that person the wrong impression or idea. But like none of those are supposed to be flirting.
That makes a
You
lot.
know this.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. And it's funny because in all those dates that I had, I never thought about the second date. I was always very present on the first date and trying to have fun. Like, am I going to have fun or just be interested in this conversation? And I usually was. And if I wasn't, I just listened to my self-talk, which is one of my favorite things to do. But even after I met my present girlfriend, we met in September. It went very well, very quickly. And then we agreed that for 90 days, we were not going to be serious. And I just said, look, you can date whoever you want. You don't have to tell me. I don't care. I'm going to date whoever I want for 90 days. And for like, we literally, it was whatever date was, maybe it was October 1st. We said until, December 30th, we are not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And it took like all the pressure off the relationship. And I think I had this one other woman at the time I was kind of seeing a little bit. And so I think I may have gone with her a few more times. But during that 90 days, I really didn't see anybody else, right? It wasn't that I was looking for somebody else. It's like I didn't want to have the pressure of what you're talking about. Like it has to be driven to this one particular thing. And honestly, I don't even think we lasted 90 days. I think we got to like day, 72 and we said, all right, this is ridiculous. Like let's lock down. But there is that thing about people feeling like they need to have something happen, whatever it is. Guys need to get laid. Women need to have a boyfriend or he needs to do X, Y, or Z. And it's funny to me that people don't realize that ruins everything almost every time, right?
Correct. And when you have expectations that are put on that, and while that works in business and other areas of your life, it backfires in this area because dating is about fun. Dating is about being in your emotion, in your play, getting to know someone, pacing things out so that you're just kind of really staying present. And let's talk about dating in the golden years.
Ugh.
It's a whole different ball game dating after. I mean, if you're over the age 40, what's beautiful about it is that there's no sense of time anymore. Like, gone are the days where everyone's kind of looking for that partner to hunker down with and, build a life and a family. And let's face it, we were taught to date to find our soulmate, when we were younger, in that era. And now it's like anything goes, like whatever you want.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm a bit of contrarian on this one because you really hear people in their 40s and 50s whining about dating a lot. They can never find somebody. Again, I think it's become so easy because in your 20s and 30s, I was looking for a wife. I was looking for someone to build a family with. I was looking for a lot of things. I was looking for, the love of my life. And in my 40s and 50s, like most of that is gone. Now it's like, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy my time with somebody. And a lot of the things that were maybe my obstacles before are not there anymore. But let's talk about women for a second in 40s, 50s, because most guys my age are looking for women 10, 20, 30 years younger. So I do hear a lot from, friends who are women in our age saying, guys, I'm 50, guys aren't going to talk to me. I mean, a 70-year-old guy will talk to me, but a 55-year-old guy won't. What's your explanation for that?
Yeah, I used to do matchmaking too back in the day. That was been part of my career. And it was really fascinating to see, the requests that men would have and how old the women would be. And, I see that there's a difference between when people are meeting online versus in real life, right? Like no one walks into a party with a resume on their belly and their age on their forehead, right? Because you could meet a fabulous woman who's not 10 years younger, but has the energy of a 30-year-old who could dance circles around, some 30-year-olds, And so I think a lot of times, especially men, if they're getting back out there after a divorce or a lot of men are looking for finding their
trophy.
mojo.
They want a trophy and they want something for their ego.
Some do, but for as many who do, some want a real relationship. I don't believe that it's generalized like that. And it's because I work with people all over the world and I know this to be true. So if all you're seeing are men who only want to date women who are 10 years younger, then I believe you because that is what you're seeing and that's where you're putting yourself.
Yeah.
I always say I believe what you believe. And it's until you shake things up and do something different is when you're going to start seeing different people. I'm sorry, in all my programs, and I work with so many people, They're fantastic guys who are looking for their equals and they don't care about age. And you have to be intentional and put yourself out there in ways that maybe you haven't thought about.
When guys get out of their marriage or the relationship, what they first look for is somebody who's 10, 20, 30 years younger.
Oh, totally.
And they do that for a little while, a couple of years. Then maybe they get a girlfriend who's 10, 20 years younger. And then after a year and a half, they realize what a disaster it is. And then they end up with, somebody more like age appropriate. And what you got to do is wait for the guy until he's like 5 years out of his divorce. That's when, he realizes that 30-year-old is a goddamn nightmare who barks at the moon half the time. And he's ready to be with somebody who he can actually speak to and who doesn't want 10 kids like next week, like Alec Baldwin.
Well, I'm sorry. This might be a surprise to you men, but guess what? Women do the same thing. Do you know how many women get out of divorce and then they go for the hot young guy? And to me, it's the rites of passage. I think it's great. Like if I have somebody who comes to me and they're fresh out of divorce, and let's say it's been a year and they haven't had their traditional, I'll say transition romance. Okay. Because it's something that everybody has. And it's necessary because it's part of finding yourself and feeling sexy and alive again. Then I say, you know what, come back to me when you have your transition and then we'll start working. People think that they're going back out there looking for their next boyfriend and girlfriend because you left off where you started as a relationship person. But then you realize you're like, oh my God, no, I just want to have fun. This is too much fun. And honestly, that's half the battle. That's why I do these mission statements. Do you know how many people I ask? Because I do these free breakthrough calls. And if anyone wants to have a call with me, I'm happy to do that. You just go to my site.
What's a breakthrough call? What does that mean?
A breakthrough call is just you and I getting on the phone, talking about challenges you're having around dating and brainstorming some ideas, what can help you. And a big question I do ask about, what it is that they want. And I'd say 95% of the time, people can't really tell me. They think they know what they want, but after we strip down all the layers, they're like, oh, no, actually, I don't want a boyfriend. I don't want a girlfriend. I just want to have fun, know?
Right.
So you have to get clear on what you're set out to do. Otherwise, you will keep attracting something that you really don't want. And so it really is. And to me, that's where the empowerment is. We can't change the people around us. All we could do is change something about us that gets a different result. But you got to be clear on what it is you want.
So let me ask you, is it 100% fixable? Every single person who comes in, when you kind of dig down to their deepest core emotions and feelings, is it easy to find the problems? Because I feel like it's super easy. Like when I talk to friends of mine who are tired of online dating or they've stopped dating and they hate women or they hate men or whatever, usually we can find a pretty simple common ground very easily. Or some people just, they're just in their head and they're stuck and there's nothing you can do with them.
You know what it comes down to? It's all about the attitude. And I always tell people, I call it the MAP method and where I work with people. It's changing your mindset, changing your approach, and changing your perspective. And if you're open to that, then things are going to happen. But if you're stuck in victim negativity, believing that there are no good people out there, then you're going to create your own reality and that's not going to happen for you. So I always say, I can only work with people who are willing to look at themselves and are open to coaching to do something different. Otherwise, you're just going to stay the same. And if you want to stay the same, that's cool. I have a great story around this. I tell this all the time, but it really highlights what we're talking about. A woman called me up and she said, "You're my last hope." I said, "Oh, okay. No pressure, right?" She's like, "I've scoured the earth." This is what she tells me. "I've scoured the earth and there are no good men here. I don't know what to do. I'm throwing in the towel. And I heard that you work miracles. So I'm calling you." I said, "Okay, well, what's going on?" She's like, "Well, I've done online dating. I think I've dated every man in this town." She lived up in Montreal. There's no good men." I said, "I believe you." She's like, "What?" I said, "I believe that you believe that there are no good men out there.
Right.
So I'm not sure I can help you." She's like, "Well, I heard that you could." I said, "I can, but as long as you have that belief, I can't help what you see."
No,
and she's like,
that's a great story. Yeah.
Right. And she's like, "Okay, fine." So she hires me. I said, "I want you to do one thing before our first call. I want you to go out. I want you to take the same route to work." She walked to work. "And I just simply want you notice men who are noticing you. That's it. That's all I want you to do. Nothing else. Make eye contact, smile, swagger, wear something cool." She's like, okay, but seriously, I'd take this right. I said, I know what you're telling me. Just do that. Okay. And then we'll have our first call. So she comes back and she's like, Kimmy, do you have a voodoo doll? I said, I don't have a voodoo doll. What happened? She's like, well, I can't believe what just happened. I took that same route to work and I suddenly see this gentleman who's sitting on the bench and he's checking me out. And he was really handsome. And so before I knew it, he's like calling me over and we start having a great conversation. And Kimmy, he asked me out. And Kimmy, I already went on a date with him and it was amazing. That guy ended up being her long-term boyfriend.
I mean, your
Everything.
mindset is everything in this game. And I think a lot of people get stuck in, I'm not good looking enough, or I'm not successful enough, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. Or you watch TV, all the beautiful people, who are, grace the set and the movies, and you go, well, I'm never going to be like that. But that doesn't matter either. Like, it doesn't matter. Some of my most successful friends in terms of the dating scene are not even close to being the best looking. Some of them are ugly. You look at the Game.
Yeah.
Right?
Neil Strauss.
Neil Strauss. Now that's like kind of an extreme,
Right.
situation with him and the way but Neil Strauss was this little 5'7", not very attractive, little skinny, nerdy guy who figured out all these tricks and tools to get women. Now, the way he did it was through complete extreme manipulation. Probably not the best way to go if you're looking for a real relationship. But the point being is that Neil Strauss was not a beautiful, amazing, successful guy. And he was going to the Sunset Strip and getting Playboy models and the most attractive women on the planet. You don't have to be perfect to find your soulmate. You just have to have a mindset of, I'm going to pay attention to the people who are paying attention to me, and just allow yourself to find it. Allow yourself to find the way to the next person.
It's so true. And, I think a lot of, especially men, I find, but women do this too, but they're constantly comparing themselves to others. They hesitate, they get in their head, they're worried about what women think or feel. And that's one of the biggest challenges sometimes, and things that I have people do is don't worry about what other people think or feel. Just worry about what you want and go after it. And that's where the skill base comes. Because when you get better at the skills, yeah, Neil Strauss kind of started this movement of these certain body language hacks and conversation skills that can get the girl. But then it
Straight
became
manipulation. It was pretty gnarly.
It became a little bit extreme.
It's like psychological torture.
Started. Yeah, I think the point is though, is if you learn some skills that you feel really good in, then you'll feel more confident as a person. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all attracted to is confidence. Honestly, that's it. There's somebody for everybody in terms of the way people look. But when you are sexy and you're confident, it's not about the guy, it's not about the girl, it's about you. And when you look in the mirror and you say, I got it going on, then that's when other people will too.
And the most important thing I would think of all is to make sure when you're on your online profile, you don't have a picture of you and a fish. Right?
Oh my God, what is with the fish and the men?
I don't
oh my
understand.
God, all the women are complaining about this. What is that?
If you're online dating, you see 100 women who will say something about don't put a picture of you and a fish, and every goddamn guy puts a picture of him and a fish. I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
Get it. Is it like caveman where he's showing you, look, I can hunt and provide for you?
Guys are just donkeys.
It's a little subliminal.
Yeah, guys are just donkeys. They're just too dumb. Okay, final words, Kimmy. This has been super interesting. What's final words on online dating, on dating in general, on people? What's a summary?
I will say that, first of all of it's good. Online dating, meeting people in real life, having a social life. I call it a dating portfolio. Your dating portfolio should be like your financial portfolio. You need to diversify as much as possible. It's never a good idea to put something in one, area and then hope for the best, especially if you're not using it in an intentional way. So the name of the game really is doing small wins that add up to the bigger picture. Because all you can do is focus on what is, not on what is going to happen or be bogged down from the past. And the more present you are with all these things that we're talking about, that's what's going to get to where you want to go.
Great advice. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on my podcast. Again, it's called The Charisma Quotient. All my social handles pretty much are at Kimmy Seltzer, and it's KimmySeltzer. And my website, of course, KimmySeltzer.com.
Awesome. Kimmy, this was great advice. I had a lot of fun talking to you. And as soon as my current girlfriend comes to her senses and dumps me, I'm calling you up the next day. So we'll figure this out.
I wouldn't be worried about you.
Okay, good enough. All right, everybody. So this has been a couple minutes with Kimmy Seltzer. We had a great time. This is Middle Age Mess. We'll see you next time. Thanks.